Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on LinkedIn Profile Tips with Jolie Miller of LinkedIn Learning. I'm Valerie Dow, moderator today. I work on career events and programming at UC Berkeley Extension. While people are still signing on, I'll go over a few details on the webinar. There's a Q&A box that you'll see on the right of your screen, right underneath Jolie's picture. So we'll get as many of your questions as we can as we get towards the end of the presentation, but please feel free to submit questions as we go. That will kind of help us see where your interests lie. We will email a link to you with a recording of the webinar next week. And also, we're running a few polls during the webinar. These are just quick tallies to share with you trends among the people who are on the webinar today. So you'll see the answers as they aggregate. These are not identifiable to you personally. We're just gathering tallies. So we hope that you will join in. And here is the first one. Where are you in your career journey? This will help us target our discussion today. So go ahead and click your response. People are still joining, so let's keep that tally, that poll open. Again, welcome everyone. While people are responding to that career journey poll that you can see on the screen, I'll give you just a little background on UC Berkeley Extension from those who are unfamiliar with what we do. Extension is the continuing and professional education arm of UC Berkeley, and we offer courses and programs for students in a wide range of subjects. Most of our programs are open enrollment, which means you just enroll in a class to get started. We have classrooms around the Bay Area in San Francisco, Berkeley, and Belmont, and we also have a large number of courses and programs that are online, so you can be wherever you are, as people are on this webinar today. So we do a number of career events like this during the year, both online and in our classrooms, to help our students be more successful and to share what we do with the greater Bay Area community. So that's about us. Now let's have a look at the poll to see where most people are. So it looks like easily 35% of the people who are responding they're working, but they want to be smarter about LinkedIn. So mostly mid-career people, some people coming in back to work after a hiatus. Okay, so that's about us, that's about you. Now I'd like to introduce our presenter, Jolie Miller, Senior Manager of Business Content at LinkedIn Learning. I'm so pleased Jolie can be with us to share her expertise. Welcome, Jolie.
Excellent. Thank you so much to you, Valerie, and to the whole UC Berkeley Extension team. I'm really honored to be here today and joining all of you. It looks like we have almost 160 people in the webinar, which is awesome. This is actually my favorite part of working at LinkedIn, is getting to chat with you and help you be successful in your career. So definitely encourage you as we're going through the webinar. If you have questions, notes, things that you'd like to follow up on, jot them down, share them with us in the Q&A. And I'm also going to share some contact information for myself at the end of the webinar in case you want to do any follow-up over LinkedIn. We can email and have a conversation. So thank you again, and let's get started with the fun stuff. Today we're going to talk about profile tips that are going to help you advance your career. And I split the agenda into a couple buckets. We're going to start with my philosophy about job hunting. And if any of you are David Mamet fans out there, you probably know where this Always Be Job Hunting came from. And then I'm going to go over 11 easy profile tips that you can start to implement today. You might pick a couple to do every day over the long weekend, and you can pick and choose which ones are going to make the most impact to you and where you want to get started. But they're all great ones and pretty easy to implement. Then we're going to take a tour of your privacy settings to make sure that you're only sharing what you think you're sharing with your network and that you're not giving away any information that you'd rather keep private. And then the good stuff is really getting to your questions at the end and seeing how we can directly help you with the situation that you're in. So don't be shy. Chances are good if you have a question, other people out there have the same question, and it's great to get those out on the open so that we can all share and learn from each other. So let's go ahead and dive in. Always be job hunting. This is really my mantra. You know, I manage a team at LinkedIn. I help a lot of people with their careers on the side. And this is one thing that I always tell people. It's the one thing I hope you take away from this webinar, if there's just one thing that you remember. And it's that you don't ever really start and stop job hunting, ideally. You're always on the search. You always want to stay in tune with what trends are going on, with salaries, with companies that are hiring or maybe that are decreasing their hiring. And it really helps you stay abreast of the trends in your space so that you know competitively where you stand, where other people stand, and you can be poised to make a move at the right time so that you never have your back up against that wall. That's never a comfortable feeling for any of us. So always be job hunting. Now, in order to do this, I recommend that you keep a one-sentence objective in your head. This could be something that you say to yourself. You could write it down and place it on a mirror or someplace you see all the time. But really provide for yourself some clarity about what skills, what location, what kind of job, what kind of salary you're looking for, all those important things that really make up the whole puzzle for you. You need to be really clear on what those are, because otherwise it's really easy to start looking at jobs and thinking, hey, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this other thing. But that's probably not the best strategy to get you a job that's going to make you really happy. And in fact, it could lead you to apply to a lot of things that maybe aren't going to be the best fit. So as you get clarity about your priorities, that's going to help you filter through the jobs and really decide what's a better move than where you are today, or what's a good reentry move if you're coming back into the workforce. So I recommend that you take some good time with that to think about it and really understand your priorities, maybe your family's priorities, and how those tie together. The next thing that I recommend is that you're constantly surveying the state of your search. So you're keeping your resume and your LinkedIn profile, any online portfolios or recommendation lists of people who will recommend you really current. This is something that I like to say you should take a look at every quarter if you can. Every month is even better if you have the bandwidth to do that. But definitely, even if you're not actively looking, you're really happy where you are, try to do this at least twice a year so that you've got your resume updated with those current bullets on what you've accomplished that year. You've got your education updated. And that way, again, it keeps you from ever having your back up against the wall if you need to pull those materials out at the last minute. So keeping these updated is a really good investment of your time. Now, the next part is really the fun stuff where we improve your LinkedIn profile and give you some great tips that you can start to apply there. So we have 11 easy tips that really start with the photo. And it surprises some people to know a lot of folks still don't have a profile picture up on their LinkedIn profile. But if you do have a profile photo, you're going to get 21 times the views, 36 times the messages, 9 times the connection requests. And that really comes down to people like to see your face. And we would love for you to tell us in the poll that you see on the screen, do you have a current profile photo? Have you taken it within the last 6 months? I really like to say the rule for your profile photo should be, if I go and meet you for coffee, I should be able to instantly pick you out of a crowd because I saw your LinkedIn profile. So if you don't quite look the same, it's definitely time to get an updated headshot. A lot of times your company or your school will help you with a headshot or a photo. They have resources available. If not, you can ask a friend. Take it with a clear background. Natural light is always really good. And take advantage also of the new LinkedIn photo filters that are available. If any of those are helpful to take your photo to the next level, they're definitely a great way for you to set yourself apart. I highly recommend professional attire like the sample photo here. And then I also really suggest if you want to distinguish yourself, have that background image like you can see here. Willem is a colleague of mine and he works in San Francisco. You can see this beautiful San Francisco cityscape as a background. It's a great way to set yourself apart to have a photo like this. And it's also a great way to showcase your geography, your location. Let's say if you're looking to relocate to a new area or where you are today, it helps people place you in context. So profile photos are very important. It was great to see your results on current photos. And if you want to really think about taking it to the next level, don't hesitate. Have a friend help you out this weekend and see if you can make some improvements and upload a new profile photo when you're ready. The next tip is to write a compelling headline. The headline is kind of like your elevator pitch. It's this very short, succinct way for you to tell people who you are right under your name. So you can see I have two examples from colleagues here. The one on the left is what I call more of a creative headline. It kind of stands out. It's clever. It's a little bit different and it's memorable. I really tend to like headlines like this, and it might be because I have an editorial background and I love writing. I really like that authentic connection in a headline like Linda's. She says she's a creative wrangler, people and content. That sounds like someone I'd like to meet. It's an interesting way of describing yourself. And again, it's going to set her out in a crowd, and I probably will remember that headline very easily. On the right is a more traditional headline, which is also a really good choice. And Susan's headline says she's a strategist, content and thought leadership. So that, again, is really descriptive about what she does. I know what I'm getting with Susan and how she's branding yourself. And branding is really the key word here. You want to think about your headline as branding yourself in the way that you'd like potential employers to see you. So there's no real right or wrong here. The biggest guideline I really suggest is be authentic to you and the industry that you're in. This is a really key thing. If your industry tends to favor headlines that are a little bit more descriptive of the role, that might be a good way to go. If you see a lot of creative outside of the box headlines, definitely don't hesitate to set yourself apart. So the next tip for you is to list out each job with details of your accomplishments. And you would be surprised how many people I work with who do not list what they've done that's amazing in the jobs that they have. So we want to hear from you with this poll. Do you list out your accomplishments in your profile today on LinkedIn? Yes or no? I'm seeing a lot of no's. So let's keep those votes coming in. So when you list out your job with details, you're going to get 8 times the profile views. So that in and of itself is a great way to put in keywords in your profile that recruiters and hiring managers are going to search for. But even more importantly, this is, again, how you brand yourself. This is how you share with people, hey, this is why I'm a rock star over those other candidates. Look at what I did. And I really suggest that you think about that mentality. What are the wins that I've had at work? And you can see some examples in this sample that's on screen now for a colleague of mine. We get a real sense of not just what he's responsible for, but also what the wins have been. What are those bullets that he's going to want to tell people about, things that he's proud of? So it looks like a lot of you would like to maybe add some accomplishments to your profile, don't have them today. And I encourage you, play around with those. Take a look at my profile, which I'll share at the end. You can get a sense for how I do it. But really think about, what have I been successful at? How do I want to differentiate myself in this competitive job market? The next tip is to list at least 5 top skills on your profile. This is going to get you 17 times the profile views. And it's a really good way, again, to say, hey, I know this thing, whether it's Java or MATLAB or e-learning or leadership or marketing. It's great to tell people I'm good at these things. And then people can endorse you for these things. You can see now with this example, there are some endorsements from different people who are highly skilled at this, people who are mutual connections, which gives some relevancy and some context to the skills that you list. Now, if you're getting started, you don't have any skills listed today, really sit down with yourself, make a list of those top things that people tell you that you're good at, the things that you're doing in your job every day. Use that as a starter list. And then I also encourage you, if you're re-entering the workforce, you're thinking about making a career transition or change, definitely list out those skills that you want to become known for. Start working toward those in your current job or in volunteer opportunities, and get some recommendations going there with the endorsement section for those skills as well. If you can make a goal to go beyond 5 and get up to a dozen or more, that's awesome. Again, they're great keywords that it's easy for recruiters to search on, so you're only making yourself more marketable when you list those skills out. Next tip is to include all your education and coursework. And you can see here we have some education from the UC Berkeley Extension, which is awesome. All types of education are fair game in this section. And in fact, I'll tell you, as a hiring manager, I really look to hire learners. I want people who know that they haven't figured it all out yet and that there's still more that they're looking for and looking to develop in their careers. So it's great to list formal education, informal education, courses that you take through an extension, through LinkedIn Learning or Lynda, through MOOCs, whatever it is that you're learning. It's great to show people that you're developing those skills. It says that you're motivated and it says that you're engaged in your industry. So I definitely encourage you, aim to add a couple of these to your profile every year if you can. Maybe it's a 1-hour management training course internally, or maybe it's something you did like this, a webinar, something online. All fair game, but let people know that you're active and that you see that there are gaps that you'd like to fill. Great idea. So after that, I really want to encourage you to claim your unique URL on LinkedIn. If you go to the upper right, when you're on your profile, you'll see your contact and personal information with this little pencil icon here. And there you can do some adjustments to your profile. You can claim your URL. You can add websites that are relevant, places that you can send people for your portfolio so they can take a look. And we'd love to hear from you. You see the poll went up on our screen. Have you claimed your unique URL on LinkedIn yet? Yes or no? Hopefully a lot of you are yeses on that. If not, that's great homework for the weekend. You can see I've claimed mine, Jolie Miller. I'm lucky in that I have a unique name that not a lot of people have. If your name is Stephen Brown, it might be a little bit trickier to get your unique URL. So you could think about a middle name or some kind of differentiator that's professional so that you could claim that unique URL. It's great to put this on your business cards, on portfolio sites, much friendlier to send people to than a long URL with a lot of characters. So again, it's going to set you apart as being both LinkedIn savvy and easy to get a hold of. So I highly recommend, if you're one of those 46% who have, good job. If you haven't, take some time to do that. It's very quick to do. Next, I encourage you to add your location and your industry to your profile. And this is especially helpful for those of you who are re-entering, particularly if you're doing it in a new location, you're starting over in a new city or state, or those of you who are wanting to maybe think about a switch down the line, you know you're going to be moving in 6 months. Adding your location and industry is a really helpful way, again, to set yourself apart for recruiter searches. You're 23 times more likely to find local jobs if you've got your location added there. So I live in a suburb of Los Angeles, but I've got the greater Los Angeles area put on my profile so that it spans me wide into the LA basin. Similarly, if you live near a huge hub, you might want to choose that greater Seattle or greater San Francisco Bay Area, or you might want to do your specific city. If that's more local to where you're looking, that's definitely fine as well. Industry is important here too. You can see that this selection shows internet. There are a lot of different choices, and you're going to want to think about which one you select based on the kinds of jobs you want to find. If you're looking to break into the internet industry, but you're not in it today, it would be a great idea to think about branding yourself in the internet industry so that you're able to showcase that that is where you're looking to work. So 300,000 people search by industry weekly on LinkedIn. Again, it's a great way to be in the right real estate and showcase what it is that you're looking to do in the future. Next, I want to encourage you to ask for recommendations. And I have a philosophy about recommendations, which is really that the quality of your entire network on LinkedIn really depends on generosity and reciprocity. You know, it's never good to have a one-way street with people, always be asking or always be giving or always be getting. You want to have that equal balance. So it's great to start asking people you've worked with for recommendations. I recommend you ask former managers, former peers, people who sat across the org from you in similar roles. If you've been in a managerial role, it's always a good sign when you're looking to get hired again into a managerial role. If your employees have recommended you, that says that you're a good boss, someone that a company might want to hire that could motivate and retain their workforce. So that's always a good sign. I would like you to aim for getting 3 to 5 recommendations on your profile. To be honest with you, as a hiring manager at LinkedIn, one of the first things that I look at when I scan someone's profile is whether they've been recommended by bosses and by their teams if it's for a managerial role. I want to know, is this person really easy to work with, or are they not? If they don't have recommendations, is there a reason why they don't? And you don't want to run the risk of being lumped into, oh, maybe people aren't recommending this person for a reason, when it might be that actually you just haven't taken the time to fill out that section yet. So think about the people who can speak to your experience and the great skills that you have, and ask them to recommend you. You can go to their profile and you can click down in the extra dots and ask to be recommended by them to send off a reco request. I highly recommend you personalize the recommendation request. For example, if it's a former boss 2 jobs back, you might want to say, I would really love it if you did a shout out for, project Headwaters, let's say, that we completed successfully and under budget. Could you talk a little bit about how I brought that in successfully in the recommendation? It's great to prompt people with the kinds of things that you're looking for, but I don't recommend that you tell them what you would like them to say. Some people might ask you to just write it and send it to them and they'll post it for you. I also don't recommend that. You really want these recommendations to be authentic and driven by the person and their experience with you. Now, on the same token, give what you're getting. You don't want to just go back and recommend the people who are recommending you, but take the time when someone's done a good job, someone you work with, maybe at the end of the year or the end of the quarter, if they've really raised the bar and done something impressive, take the time to recommend them on LinkedIn. It's a great tool for them to have in the future for job hunting. It shows that, again, you have a reciprocity mindset in your network, and it's just a great way to add to the collective value that we all bring to the LinkedIn platform. So set yourself apart with recommendations. The next step is to think about publishing on LinkedIn to show your thought leadership. And this is a really great way to set yourself apart in a crowded job market. When you're publishing about, let's say, a trend in your industry, maybe a new regulation, or how you think the new year is going to go, or something that you're seeing that you'd like to comment on and get thoughts about, it really tells people, again, that you're a learner. You're clued into what's going on. You know there are bigger conversations happening, and you'd really like to be a part of those conversations. When you publish, you have the option to share out with your entire network that you've published this article. And that tells them in their notifications that you publish something new, and they can go and read. People can opt in to follow you. It's possible some articles, if they hit trending topics, they're curated by LinkedIn and they can get bumped up into the news feed in a larger topic area. So again, great way to set yourself apart. Even if only your followers are reading your articles and you get a few comments or likes, it's definitely worth it to show future employers that you have opinions, that you're not afraid to share them, and that you're contributing back to that community that you serve. Now, the important thing when you start to do this is you don't want to be a one-hit wonder with publishing. Hey, I published one thing in January 2018 and you never heard from me until 2020. It's great to establish a cadence that works for you, whether that's every month, every quarter, twice, 3 times a year, whatever it is. Really think about what you can commit to and stick to it with consistency. That lets people know that you're going to be a part of the community. You're someone who's contributing your thoughts on a regular basis, even if it's not super regularly. But it's a great way, again, to share what it is that you're learning and how you're thinking about leadership and ongoing trends in your industry. The next step is to think about mentoring. Mentoring is really one of my favorite ways to help develop people. It's a great way to get ahead yourself. If you don't have a mentor yet, I highly recommend that you take a look this year at pairing with a mentor or two who can help you in your career journey. And the way that you're going to want to do this on LinkedIn, there's a new mentoring feature that is largely rolled out. Hopefully you see it. What you're going to do for the mentoring is go to view profile to look at your own profile, and you're going to look at the career advice hub. You see it over here on the left side of the slide in the middle under career interests. When you click that career advice hub, you're going to be taken to a place where you can sign up for mentoring. You can give advice. You can let people know if you want to be mentored. There's a matching function on LinkedIn that can then pair you with people. So again, you have the opportunity to have that reciprocity in your network. Maybe you can mentor someone on finance, but you're looking to switch into a marketing role and you would like some mentoring on marketing. It's a great way to think about using LinkedIn. It's also really helpful to use mentoring offline. Perfectly okay to find somebody you went to school with, or a professor, former colleagues or bosses. Great to meet for coffee once a month, once a quarter, whatever cadence works, and talk about what it is that you're looking to develop. I highly recommend, I had a good chat with a colleague earlier this week about this, that if you're doing mentoring, whether you're a mentor or a mentee, that you have really specific goals in mind. The more specificity in going into mentoring, the better. Something vague like, I'd like to change my career is kind of harder to steer from a mentoring perspective than I'm looking to switch into the project management field and I've been in sales. How can I think about doing that? So really get clear on the goals that you have for mentoring and use that as a guideline to pair with the right people. Now, the next piece, and really, I would say the key piece of your LinkedIn profile, is to write a compelling summary. And there's a reason that I saved this for the last, because it's kind of like going back and writing that first line of a novel when everything's done. You want to make sure that that introduction to you is really exactly how you want to brand yourself. You've got 2,000 characters to work with in your summary. 90 of them, the first 90 are going to show up on mobile. A lot of people are using the LinkedIn app on mobile, so make sure that those first 90 really count for you. And there's a lot of schools of thought about how you write a compelling summary. Some are first person, some are third person. Some of that might be driven by your industry and what's the standard based on where you work, how you work. Some of it's driven by personal creativity and personal choice. Again, as with the headline, the real guidance here is to be authentic to yourself. I'm a big fan of talking to people the same kind of way you would talk to them if you were having a cup of coffee and sitting down with them and getting to know them because you thought there might be a job fit. So as you can weave in those personal stories about yourself, telling people what differentiates you, the kind of person you are, the kind of wins you have, that's exactly what you want to use this real estate for. Having a summary is really the number one thing recruiters are looking for. They're scanning it for keywords for the open jobs that they have, and they're scanning it to see if you're positioning yourself as the kind of person that would be a good cultural fit in their organization. So consider this real estate to be really precious and take your time crafting it. I recommend do a few drafts, maybe try a third person and a first person, share them with a few trusted colleagues, share them maybe with some friends, get some feedback. Ask people, which of these would you most like to read, or which of these would you be most likely to hire? And that's a great way to get people to give you some real world feedback on how your summary is coming across. So this is a great way to spend some good deep thinking time, take an hour or two to really make sure it's branding you the way that you want to come across. Now, if you're mid-career or you're coming back into the workforce after a hiatus, this is a great place to explain some of that, explain why you're making a transition, explain why you're coming back into the workforce. If you can do it in a pithy and a clever way and encourage people that, hey, I want to get to know that person a little bit more, you've really hit it exactly how you want to present yourself. So those are my 11 LinkedIn profile tips. And the next part of our webinar before we jump to Q&A is a quick tour of your privacy settings in LinkedIn. Now, if for any reason your screen looks a little bit different than some of these screenshots that were taken, don't panic. For the most part, you're going to see things are still in the same place, even if your interface might look a little bit different. But the tab that you want to get comfortable with is clicking the hopefully profile pic of yourself, so you can go to you. And you want to go down to account settings and privacy. This is really where you want to think about making adjustments if you're looking for a job on, the down low, you don't want your employers to know, or just if you want to be a little bit more private about what you share with your network. There's lots of settings that you can adjust in here. You can limit who sees what of what you post. You can limit whether or not people see your connections and they're able to look through them. You know, if you're connecting to a lot of recruiters, you might not want people to be able to see all your connections. But on the other hand, if you're job hunting, it's advantageous that people are able to see who they're connected to and who you know. So take a good tour through those settings and the privacy, and take a look at what it is that feels comfortable for you. That really has to be your guidance on all of these settings. And to start with, I want to help you show only what you would like to show to people who are taking a look at your profile, your feed. So on the privacy tab within settings and privacy, you can make it clear that your profile edits are not visible out to anyone in your network. You can see the no is checked here. This is a really good idea to have no on if you're just going to start adding a lot of education, adding a lot of job accomplishments, adding, recommendations. If you don't want each of those things broadcast out in your feed, which could definitely suggest to people that you're working on your LinkedIn profile, it's great to click no on this so that your privacy is totally respected. What you change is only visible to you and someone who looks at your profile and happens to maybe know what was there before. So definitely look at adjusting that if it's important to you to keep it private, that you're making a lot of adjustments to your profile. Now, how do you get recruiters to know your job hunting? That's actually easier than ever now. And if you're on the mobile app, you might see a prompt to turn this on to let recruiters know your job hunting. You can definitely check in that I'm actively job hunting, passively job hunting, might switch if something good comes along, not interested at all. You can make those selections really easily on the mobile app as they come up. You might get a prompting sometime soon. And on the desktop app in the privacy tab, again, you can go down to let recruiters know you're open to opportunities. Always want to have this checked on if you are actively looking for a job, and hopefully you are. You're always job hunting. It's great. Again, you can select those levels of how interested you are. You can also fill in more information about what kinds of opportunities you're looking for, full-time, contract, or gig work, part-time, and you can share skill sets and particular job markets that you're interested in. This is great. Let's say if you're relocating from Seattle to Omaha and you know you need a job in Omaha, you could turn on Omaha as a location so that recruiters on that area are going to know that you're interested, and hopefully then your summary and your profile will reinforce that you're moving and why and what you're looking for. That's a great one to turn on, definitely a must-have. And then the next thing you should take a look at is how you appear when you view a profile. And I change the setting a bit depending on the mode that I'm in. If I'm recruiting candidates for a job, I usually am anonymous. I don't necessarily want to advertise that I'm looking at people. But if I'm looking for a job and I'm going to look at various hiring managers or recruiters' profiles, I definitely want them to see my name and my headline. So I would check that top option. It suggests that I'm interested in their company, that I want to know more. They'll see that I took a look at them. That might prompt them to look back at my profile. That's a great way to showcase, again, your name at the top of a list and share your interest. So that is that for the philosophy, the LinkedIn tips, and the privacy settings. And now we get to go to the fun Q&A portion. We have a great deal of time left for Q&A. So again, it looks like we populated the chat pod with a lot of questions on how we can do all these different things and some additionals. So let's go ahead and turn it back over to Valerie to start the Q&A.
Okay, great, Jolie. A lot of great questions have come in. I'm going to summarize some of the ones that have recurred, and we'll do our best to cover as much of this territory as we can. So actually, one thing that occurs to me as I see the types of things people are asking is, Jolie, is there an online help area for LinkedIn? Is there a place people can go to get more information? Because people listened to you talk about mentoring or talk about claiming your unique URL, but then they didn't fully understand. So where can they go to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me answer both of those questions. The first on general help on LinkedIn, there's two things I'm going to tell you. The first is to click your profile picture up at the top of the LinkedIn header. You'll see me and a little drop-down arrow. When you click down that drop-down, you're going to see Help Center a few items down on Account. Help Center is where we have FAQs. You can always go there if there are specific things that you have questions about to take a look. The other thing, if you have access to LinkedIn Learning, which some of you might through your work, through education, on the work tab at the top header of LinkedIn, you can go down to LinkedIn Learning. We have a lot of courses that teach you LinkedIn best practices. And if you're able to view those, such as Learning LinkedIn or specific courses, that's definitely a great resource for you as well. Now, about the specific question around claiming your URL, if you go to your profile today, and feel free to do this with me while I'm talking if it's helpful for you, go to your profile, and then on the right side of the screen, you should see Add New Profile section, Edit Public Profile and URL, Add Profile in another language there in the top right. And what you want is Edit Public Profile and URL. And there's a lot more in this heading. You can change how search engines display your results and a lot of other items that you can change in there, but that's where you're going to want to go to claim your unique URL. So when you click down in that menu, it's going to prompt you. From there, you can edit your public profile URL with the little pencil icon, and you're all set. You can select whichever URL makes sense. Assuming it's available, you'll be able to then claim it and start using it right away.
Excellent. Can you provide profile tips for people who are looking to change industry or change roles? How does somebody convey their skills and experience so that they're transferable to a new area?
That's a great question, and I suspect one that a lot of folks on the line have, so I'm glad it was asked. The key thing you want to think about is really what is that story that you want to tell in your branding about your career. So let's say you're transitioning, I'm making this up, from sales, a career in sales where you've been for the last 10 years, and you want to become a project manager now because that's a hot industry. You just got your PMP and you want to see how you can become a project manager now. That's great. I think what you want to really think about is, how do you weave that story? How did you go from sales to project management? Why? What about that story might be interesting to prospective employers? That story is a way to set yourself apart. You can tell it in a very abbreviated format in your summary. And then you're also going to want to leave a lot of what I call breadcrumbs in various places in your profile. And what I mean by breadcrumbs is listing out those transferable skills. Being a sales professional who won multiple awards every year, I learned the importance of being detail-oriented and sticking to schedules, which is really helpful in the project management field because it's all about schedules and critical paths. That kind of thing tells people that you're ready to make the transition and the bridge from where you've been to where you're headed, which is exactly what you want to do. So adding different endorsement key terms that are relevant to your new field where you're heading into is a great way when people can speak to some of those skills that transfer well, and really making sure in your job accomplishments, your summary, your headline, you're again showcasing why it is that you're making the move, what about it is interesting to people, and why they should consider you when you have an alternative background that maybe isn't as expected. And often I can tell you as a hiring manager, some of those switches like this are where you find the greatest candidates because you have a really diverse skill set that you bring into a role that someone who is a little bit maybe more traditionally trained would not have. So don't hesitate to let that be a light that shines on your profile to set you apart.
Great. How long should my profile be? Should it be shorter or longer than a resume? How is it different than my resume?
That's a great question. So I really recommend that you have both a resume, preferably one page. There's a lot of schools of thought about that, but I like to say one page, page and a half max. If you're really advanced in your career, you have a lot of experience. But you also want to have a LinkedIn profile. And the thing you should remember about LinkedIn profiles is a lot of people are scanning on mobile or they're scanning on desktop looking for candidates who are a good fit. So that time that they spend looking at your profile is precious. So you want to list as much information as you need to get the job done. But I don't recommend that you make your profile unnecessarily long and wordy, because you're going to lose people who are scanning through to see if you've got the keywords and the relevant qualifications that they're looking for. So just long enough to get the job done, but not a lot more is the recommendation. I think that goes really well for your resume as well. A page shows people that you know how to be concise and that you're thoughtful about what you include. If you're mid-career or later in your career, you might have, 20 plus years of experience, and a page is not going to let you go back to your first job that you ever had. But if you're able to go back 10 or 15 years, that's going to help showcase what's recent in your career. And you could use interview questions as a way to work in past background that might also be relevant for the role. So definitely keep it succinct.
Great. Here's someone, I'm unemployed. Should I say in my profile that I'm looking for a job? Are there any suggestions for explaining gaps in my work history in my profile without losing credibility?
Yeah, so I love it when people use their headline on their LinkedIn profile to say that they're looking for a new opportunity. I also love it when they brand themselves as what they do and they use the summary as a way of explaining that they're between jobs or they're looking for the next great thing. That's really a personal choice. And I wouldn't say that there's a definite yes or no. It's what you're comfortable with. If you're very comfortable putting yourself out there as a job hunter and really leading with that really proactive stance, I think you can authentically pull off that headline branding you as looking for my next great opportunity in sales or project management or marketing, whatever it might be. If you'd like to really establish the experience that you have in an industry and you want that to be the thing that people are thinking of, you might say, hey, I'm a tech executive and an entrepreneur. And the fact that you're in between jobs right now or looking for that next thing doesn't have to be the first thing someone knows about you. You can use your summary and your job listings as a way of telling that story. So I would say really think about what's comfortable for you and really what you're comfortable telling people on the phone if they should call to ask about it. Do you want to brand yourself as a job hunter, or do you want to really be thought of as that person that you're already in as your experience, or the person that you're looking to become if you're doing a job change?
Great. Where was I here? Should I submit a resume for a job listing on LinkedIn that has hundreds of applicants already?
This is actually one of my favorite questions, and I have a handy rule for you to remember about this, and it's my 10 by 10 rule. And the ideal case scenario I have found is that you ideally would like to be in the top 10% of applicants for a job, and you'd like to be one of the top 10 in for the job, because that means your resume is going to be high in the pile when things are getting started. Now, that's the best case scenario if you're actively searching, you're scrolling every day looking for jobs, you've got your jobs alert set on various platforms, and you're able to quickly apply to things. That's great. It's great because it means that you're probably a good fit, and it means that you're early, so you're going to get looked at when people are getting started. But if you're not, adopting the 10 by 10 rule for whatever reason, maybe you see a job a little bit later, or maybe your qualifications are a little less traditional, don't let that discourage you if you think it's the dream job. I definitely recommend look for jobs where you're certainly at least in the top 25 to 50%, if not the top 10%. That means that there's going to be a good match probably with keywords that a recruiter or hiring manager is looking for. And the earlier you can be for any job on any platform that you're scanning, the better. A lot of companies use what are called applicant tracking systems that scan for keywords and scan resumes as a way to do a first screen on candidates that submit resumes and covers. So the sooner that you're in that tracking system before there are hundreds in the queue ahead of you, the better off you'll be. It's also great to use a networking opportunity or ask for a referral on LinkedIn if you know contacts at a company that can help boost your job search, take you to the top of the line, coming in the door with a good networking connection. So it's great in advance of applying at a company if you start to get to know maybe some of the people who work there and network with them so that it can increase your chances, again, of having those connections when you do apply.
Thank you. What are some tips for combating ageism? Do I need to show when I graduated from college? Do I shorten my job history? What can you advise?
That's a great question. I was talking with a colleague about this the other day and what we recommend. And the typical advice I have is if you're concerned about that for whatever reason, don't put the year that you graduated from your college. You don't have to. That's your business. And then on your resume, I do recommend, don't go back further than 10 or 15 years. I've seen a lot of really qualified people come through that might have really great 3-page resumes because they have so much work experience. But even if it's great experience, it's hard to get through 3 pages. So focusing on the most relevant and the most recent work, both in your resume and on your profile, is a really good way to keep yourself looking fresh. And again, you can always use the interviews and questions and things like that as a way to share your depth of knowledge. And the way that you answer questions, the gravitas that you bring and the experience you can talk about is really going to set you apart as bringing something special and extra to the table that people are going to like.
Thank you. Here's one. I'm relocating. What location should I list in my profile? How do I compete for jobs remotely? And how do I start building traction in the new location before I get there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think one that a lot of us grapple with from time to time in our career. And I congratulate you on looking to take that next step. It's never easy to job hunt in an area that you're not living in currently. So good for you taking that step. And a great thing to do is start to take a look at the big employers in that area, whoever they might be. Get to know the companies, get to know their openings. You can search by company on LinkedIn to learn more about a company and the openings that they have. It's also great to start to mine any networking connections, perhaps from schooling or from your personal network, or maybe people you're starting to connect with in home buying for your move, things like that, so that you start to build up connections who are in that space. And that's a great way to open the door for this. I highly recommend, let's say if you're going to be moving to Seattle, but you're not there yet, and you're looking for jobs in Seattle actively, I would change your location to Seattle. And again, you can use that summary as a way to say, moving in June 2018 or whatever it might be, so that people know that you're motivated and you're ready to make a move. It's also a great way to show people that you're serious about the area, even though you're not there yet. People want to know, if they're looking at candidates who are living remotely today, that they're willing to move, that they are going to definitely want to accept an offer if it gets to that stage. So that showcases your commitment to that. And then I would be really clear, on your story, and be really clear on, if you're looking for relocation expenses or not, as you're getting into the interview process. Again, show that you've thought out what this move is going to mean, have a really clear timeline for yourself, and, start to open those doors in that area as much as you can through companies or through connections, so that you're able to really showcase yourself as being a part of that community. If you can start connecting to community pages and learning more about the area, or looking again at groups that are maybe based on LinkedIn that are local to the area, that's another great way to connect with people who are there already and start to learn what's hot and what's happening in that location.
Good. How often should I change my profile? Is there a benefit to continuously updating and tweaking, or should I just kind of put it up there and let it be?
So I'm definitely of the school that you're constantly improving and you're constantly tweaking, but this shouldn't be something that becomes, an obsessive part of your life. It should be something that is interesting for you and a fun way for you to continue to stay on top of your career. I typically make tweaks to my profile maybe a couple times a month. I might add a resume bullet if I just finished a great project that I want people to know about, or I might ask for a recommendation or things like that. I don't usually do a huge major overhaul to my profile very often. It's usually a much more iterative process over time. I might update my summary a couple times a year to make sure, again, that it's really accurately reflecting what I do today and what I'm looking to do in the future. And then beyond that, your headline is really kind of a fun one to play with if you want to A/B test a little bit. Try out a headline that's clever, that's creative, see how it goes with recruiters, see what kind of interest you get for a couple of weeks, then maybe change it to something that's a little bit more about the functional role you're looking for, see how that does. You'll probably see within a couple days some good clear results that can give you signal on how you're coming across. And definitely you want to be optimizing for the good results you're having. If you're getting a lot of recruiter interest today with the way your profile is, that's a really great signal that you're doing something right. And I wouldn't hesitate to throw everything out the window and change it up for the sake of it. On the other hand, if you're not getting the responses or the callbacks that you're looking for, that's probably a good signal that you can update some things about your profile and make a bigger impact. So use that as a way to gauge how well you're doing and how you can make improvements. And don't hesitate too, if you have peers in other companies you're looking to get hired in, ask them if they wouldn't mind taking a quick scan of your profile and letting you know if there's anything that sticks out that might stick out in a bad or a good way for a hiring manager there before you apply. That can let you know if you're a little bit on or off brand for the company that you're looking to work for.
Thank you. So someone has asked, should I indicate that I'm a green card holder, and in what part of my profile should I put that?
So I don't have a lot of personal experience with this question. I will tell you that I think it's great to mention that in your summary if it's something that you're getting asked repeatedly in job interviews. It's certainly common in the tech community, I know, and something that you might have to have an answer to. If you find that it's an efficiency for you to list that you have that, that's great to do. If it's not something that people are asking you, I don't know that you need to volunteer that with your precious summary real estate. I would definitely only, think about putting it front and center if that's something that's going to save you some time and make it really clear to recruiters who are going to be asking you anyway.
Good. There are several questions about InMail. How long should they be? What should the subject line be? Any tips on using InMail, Jolie?
Yes, so I love InMail. If you're not connected to somebody and you want to message them, InMail is the way to go. And the overall tip I will tell you about InMail is this generosity principle you've heard me mention a couple times now, which is you want to add value to your network and also get value from your network. So use InMail as a way to facilitate connections that are going to create win-wins. I really have a bit of a pet peeve, as I'm sure you do, when someone connects to me and then they hit me with an email selling me something right away or something like that. You want to definitely establish value and currency in your network that's based on mutual gain before you're asking for that sale or for that favor. So I recommend that you think thoughtfully about who you InMail and why you're InMailing them. And then be thoughtful in the details about, what you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for a mentor or a connection to open a door at a company. Maybe you'd like to do an informational interview with someone who has your dream job. If you're authentic and you're genuine in how you come across and you let people know, hey, I'm really prepared, I'm going to be respectful of your time, that kind of thing, people are much more likely to want to help you out and to be there for you even if they don't know you today. So those are some great guidelines to using InMail. It's great if you can have those connections established and start to build that currency within your network as a way to get to know people. I definitely recommend it. The amount of InMail that you're going to see available in your account really has to do with the level of LinkedIn subscription you have. There are plans that you can purchase that have more InMails or less depending on what it is that you're looking to do on the platform.
Good. Someone is asking, can I list skills that I'm in the process of learning, even if they're not from an established educator or a known school?
Yes, I highly, highly recommend that you do that. Leaders hire learners, I say. So definitely let people know what you're learning. It can be a great thing to put in your headline if that's a key focus. You know, let's say you're developing all these new skills in certain programming languages to branch out and you want to start to be known for, you know, let's say full stack when you've only been doing back end or front end. You know, it's a great way to let people know, hey, I'm super motivated. No one's going to work harder than me. I'm learning all this new stuff and I'd love to talk with you about it. Whether it's traditional or non-traditional education, I think is less important than the fact that you're showing the initiative and that you're really building the skills, and that when it comes to it in a job interview, you can really showcase what you know in a way that's convincing to the hiring manager and shows that you're a good fit for the job.
Okay, so we're coming up towards the end of our time together. I'm going to put one more out there. Jolie, should accomplishments in LinkedIn differ from the accomplishments you would show on a resume? Is the style different, the length of them different? How to think about that?
I think in both cases, it's good that there's a match in terms of the kinds of things you're talking about. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile should not look like they're for different people, is what I mean by that. There should be a similar tone and similar themes that you see in both. Do they have to be verbatim the same? No, absolutely not. You know, in a resume, you might be very abbreviated because you want to list a couple extra jobs for a specific job you're applying for, or feature some additional education. Where in LinkedIn, you know, you can list those couple extra bullets. There's no one-page limit or something similar for your LinkedIn profile. I would say that the most important thing is that if I go to your LinkedIn profile, let's say, and your resume, and I have them side by side, you know, if you're saying you manage a team of 200 people over here on the left, and over here on the right, it says you manage 50 people, those kinds of discrepancies are things that can trip you up and create questions about what's accurate and what's real today. So I would just do a really thorough check to make sure that even if you're talking about things a little bit differently for space reasons or otherwise, that the story is consistent and that you're definitely presenting as the same person with the same skill set, so that there's a very unified message there that a hiring manager can point to and say, this is exactly who that person is.
Jolie, you are such a star. Thank you so much for all this great information. Jolie has made a free course available called Writing a Resume through LinkedIn Learning. You can link to it through this screen. It's available for the next week for those people who are wanting to get to it. Jolie, anything you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of resume questions pop up in the chat pod. We've answered a few of them here today. This course is a great one if you want more tips on specific formats. If you have alternative questions that maybe aren't as mainstream about maybe a CV or things like that, this is a great course to check out. It's got a lot of coverage to help you write different types of resumes and think about, again, how you're branding yourself in the job market. So check it out while it's free, and it's a great way to get your foot in the door to really update that resume here in the new year.
Thank you, Jolie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I know there were questions we did not get to, but we will look for additional coverage with LinkedIn, and we'll be writing about it on our Career Pathways, Professional Pathways blog on our website. Thank you, everyone.